With Tamiyo around, do we finally have enough wizards to make a real wizard legacy deck? Um, Actually, one top aided. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video, and today we're going to be playing around with wizards. But I don't know what deck list we're going to be playing yet. Let me explain. So, Peter sent me their wizards deck list, which I think looks pretty good. Tamiyo, excellent standalone card. Snapcaster Mage, maybe not the greatest card in the world anymore. Power creep is certainly real, but for a very long time, this was an absolute menace in both Legacy and Modern. And the wizard payoff here is Flame of Anor, which is kind of like a Culligan's command in terms of value, but you only get both sides of it if you control a wizard. If you do, you can do 2 of draw 2 cards, destroy target artifact, or 5 damage to target creature, which usually means that this is nuke a creature, except some of the biggest stuff, or, Psychic Frog, and then draw 2 cards. And there are some other relatively powerful wizards in the format that we can use to turn on Flame of Honor, and occasionally we can just play some big dumb card that is going to win the game. And Peter had been working on this for a while, testing for Eternal Weekend, and then we saw Punishing Waterfalls go and top 8 a magical online event of some kind. I think it was one of the weekly weekend challenges with a very, very, very similar looking build, just kind of completely had developed these separately. So I'm going to combine these and figure out what I am going to play for today. And I'm actually going to move my Moxie Field ad read to right now because there's actually an automated way to compare these things that is really neat. So Moxfield has a compare feature. You can click on the More button on any deck list and then type in or copy and paste in a link to 2 different similar deck lists, and you can get a comparison. So you can see that these decks aren't actually all that different here. So Matt's version had these. Peter's version had these, and Matt's version had these. And as far as the sideboard goes, they were 2 cards different. Functionally, 1 card different. So they were very, very much on the same page. So what we want to ask ourselves here is, in the given metagame, which of these various options do we like more? Do we want extra colored mana, or do we want extra wastelands for Eldrazi? This is probably going to make us better at blue matchups where bouncing Psychic Frog can be relevant, or grinding an opponent out with an extra removal spell could be relevant. Or is it more important to have these for Eldrazi? I think I don't like Flare of Denial. I don't think I want to be sacrificing my Tamiyos in particular right now. Thunderclap Trainer, I think, is interesting at 6 mana and kind of whatever at 2 mana. Like, the biggest thing that this would be doing is providing 1 extra body, 1 extra wizard. So do we want Tidebinder or Thunderclap Trainer, or maybe 1 of each? And then do I want a little bit extra interaction? Do I want a little bit extra threats, an extra land? That's kind of where we're at in terms of decision trees. So through the magic of editing, I'm going to make my changes. And I think I'm going to end up at a happy medium, kind of exactly between 2 lists. I'm going to go with 3 wastelands rather than 2 or 4, kind of split the difference there. I am going to try to split the difference on these 2 bonus wizards. Given how much Eldrazi there is in the metagame, it's possible that I could just run another Magus, but that is probably my tendency to really enjoy Blood Moon effects coming in rather than that being strictly correct. And I do like the idea of an extra finisher. I really kind of want to cut the Jace the Mind Sculptor. I think that card is a pretty hard sell, but it is an answer to larger creatures like Psychic Frog that can also be a value-oriented thing. I am going to just play another Brazen Borrower that can get creatures out of play. And we'll see if I end up... Oop. Oh, I want to play the art that I'm used to, but that's neat. Yeah, so One of the problems with playing a red removal deck in Legacy right now is that some of the threats like Metamorphosis Fanatic, Troll of Khazad Doom, Psychic Frog just don't die to Lightning Bolt, so having something like Jace or Brazen Borrower or Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast that can take out those sorts of threats does actually matter. So yeah, with that being said, let's see how powerful Flame of Anor is. When this card first came out, I played a league or two with it, and it was okay, but the Wizards weren't as good to enable it. Tamiyo is a very real card in these control shells, so I'm expecting better results today. And folks, should you need any cards for your next major upcoming Magic event, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. At this point, I already will have been to MagicCon Vegas by the time that you see this video, and I will have picked up some cards from their in-person booth. I ordered online using promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on my order, and I got to skip the line and just grab my cards. With that being said, let's battle. Okay, I'm missing one of my colors, which means two of my cards are dead in the short term, but I'm hoping that Tamiyo, backed by Daze, or a Wasteland to start things off, puts me into reasonable shape. We are somewhat likely to see an end of turn Entomb here, or an end of turn cycle Troll of Khazad Doom. So my plan here is Wasteland my opponent in upkeep, hope that they cannot reanimate on turn 1. Your Brainstorm is fine. I am going to hope that I take them off of mana here, and then I can use Daze to answer their first critical spell. We ultimately want to use Tamiyo to fish for things like Force of Will. That will give me more protection against whatever is going on here. We do not succeed in taking our opponent fully off of their resources, and we may end up having an uphill battle here. I don't think I fight over Tamiyo if my opponent just Fatal Pushes it here. Yeah, I think there's just more important Daze targets in this matchup. Like, I want to be able to Daze a Psychic Frog because Lightning Bolt doesn't really work as removal for it. Hey, Psychic Frog. Attempt 2 Daze. Probably am dead if my opponent can back this up with a counterspell of their own. Yeah, because Lightning Bolt does not kill this. So this might be slightly hyperbolic, but I think I lost this game already. Psychic Frog just gets to spiral this game out of control very, very easily, and Lightning Bolt isn't killing Frog. Blocking doesn't really make sense here. I need this wizard to attempt to Flame of Anor and kill Psychic Frog. But the Flame of Anor as turn 3 removal that is dazeable is going to be rough. That resolves. Lightning Bolt that with my turn, I guess. Wastelanding my opponent doesn't really make sense. I think I want to do this removal spell before my opponent draws more cards. But this is a Flooded Strand, so it has to get a Wastelandable land, which I'm not in love with. Yeah. Then I think accruing the clue for later is more important than saving 1 point of damage on a block. So we have not seen any reanimation stuff yet, and we've seen Game 1 Orcish Bowmasters. It is possible our opponent is on a blue-black tempo deck list rather than a reanimator deck list, although I don't think we can say with 100% certainty. Fuck me, yet. Oh, why weren't you a blue-red fetch? No. This is pretty rough. So, now, not only have we been set off our land for a turn, but we also now don't have red mana for Flame of Anor. I think at this point, I am on soak up damage duty. I'm hoping my opponent attacks with all of this. I use Snapcaster Mage as Ambush Viper on Orcish Bowmasters. Nice. So, yeah. This trigger doesn't do anything here. So, block you. Absorb 2 damage. My Flame of Anor might not even kill Psychic Frog at 5 damage. Like, my opponent has 5 fucking cards in hand. I think it is a tough sell to not be in blue-black if you want to be playing a blue deck in Legacy right now. My removal not removing Psychic Frog, which is one of the most played creatures in the format, outside of Fairy Macabre, of course, is a really big deal. Yeah, I think we just got fucking buried here, folks. My opponent next turn can minus Tamiyo and return Fatal Push for Tamiyo, for my own Tamiyo. Yeah, missing this was huge. Let's see if we can ponder our way out of this. None of that gets me out of that. If I take my opponent off of their mana, they just dump all their cards into Psychic Frog and I die. Can't cast Magus anyway. If I flip Tamiyo by cracking a clue, then I don't have a wizard for Flame of Anor. I hate this. So I'll go to combat. I'll attack Tamiyo. Some Tamiyo on Tamiyo violence here. I just want to accrue my second clue. We've pondered, we've drawn a card for turn. Cracking a clue will be the third to turn this into the Planeswalker. Got a couple of different issues here. Number one, the Psychic Frog is going to murder me. Number two, this Tamiyo is going to murder me. So that helps a bit. Number three, by flipping a Tamiyo, I am just incentivizing my opponent to go all in on Psychic Frog, which is already something that probably beats me. I guess in good news, I don't care about Fatal Push on my Tamiyo anymore, since my Tamiyo is a Planeswalker now. There's the fetch to clear the Brainstorm. Yeah, here we go. No Orc Army attack. My opponent expects that I have haste creatures? So my opponent has 3 cards in hand, which now means that Flame of Anor does not beat Psychic Frog. Yeah, it seems like my opponent has Murktide. I think if they have Murktide and Orcish Bowmasters in game 1, we can probably assume that they are not reanimating. And there could be something like Nethergoyfs in there. Yeah. So, I now have a window to kill Psychic Frog. Hold on. Well, there was some weird noise outside. I don't know what it was. I now have a window to kill Psychic Frog. If I do, I take a shit ton of damage from Murktide Regent. I may never end up getting another window to remove this, though. I also don't know how I'm beating this. Can you deal damage? Nope. I can kill this, or I can bounce this. This ultimate's next turn. I can return something to hand. I don't think it matters. I think I'm just cooked. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop it up there. Like, I can wiggle, but with 3 things that are all individually going to kill me in play, I don't think I get out. So now I can get some removal that actually kills most of my opponent's creatures. I don't think I'm trying to just steal a game with Magus of the Moon. I don't think I can really Daze. It's just so bad for me against my opponent's Daze deck to pick up my lands, especially since I want to be Snapcaster Pyroblasting things. So I think these just have to go. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am Magus of the Mooning. I'm playing 2 to 3 of these cards. I don't really want to Force of Will either. Might need to Force of Will if I am not going to Daze. Let's try this. With double Brainstorm, no real way to shuffle after I fetch out my blue mana, innately missing both of my colors unless I Island Cycle for Volcanic Island. I think there's a lot to dislike about this one. This one's bad too. Well, let's hope a Surveil land fixes this one. I am unhappy about this. I think Surveil landing, getting something like a Pyroblast, being able to Pyroblast an initial creature and then Snapcaster Pyroblast the follow-up creature, I think that is a real way into this game. Thundering Falls, you have got a fucking carry here, bud. That's fine. Let's Brainstorm. Oh, yikes. Put back 1. Keep both the fetch lands, maybe? Oh, I have another way to shuffle right there. Yeah and yeah. Fetch an island. We'll ponder. Yeah. Yeah. Keep blast on top. So that can't be thought seized if that's something my opponent is doing. So the hope is remove Tamiyo. Resolve my own Tamiyo. My Tamiyo probably gets a Fatal Push. And then we Snapcaster Pyroblast a frog or something. Probably vice versa. Remove frog first, it's scarier. Alright. Attempt blast on frog. Attempt Tamiyo. Pass. I think my opponent is very clearly ahead of me right now. Like, they have the Tamiyo that is attacking first. They have 2 onboard clues, 6 cards in hand to my 3 cards in hand. This is not great. And we have to hope that Snapcaster Mage starts doing some work. I think I am trying to keep Lorien revealed as a way to just draw 3 cards and keep up with my opponent's card advantage. That will, however, put me in a bad spot versus a Bowmasters. Yes. There's a Brazen Borrower on top of my deck right now. Wow, opponent said Notice Psychic Frog. Wild. I don't want Brazen Borrower unless my opponent is specifically growing their graveyard to play a Murktide Regent, in which case I don't mind that card. This could just mean that they have a couple of things like Orcish Bowmasters in hand, in which case I would like to find Lightning Bolt effects. Brainstorm is an awkward draw here. I think I play Snapcaster Mage prior to making my land drop. Alright, Snapcaster targets a Red Elemental Blast. Now, so that I play Red Elemental Blast around days, I will attempt to destroy this card, and then pass. This is unfortunately kind of walking into a Bowmasters, which I don't love, because Bowmasters is already going to be good against me, but if my opponent puts Bowmasters on the stack, I will just Brainstorm in response. That's actually not great. We're going to go Yaw, set an upkeep stop to shuffle and try to find an answer to Bowmasters. And a Tamiyo. Yeah, I am just fully not keeping up with the rate at which my opponent is deploying these threats. Thank you, Force of Will. Okay. So, the conceptual plan here is Snapcaster Mage, block Orcish Bowmasters, target Brainstorm, kill Bowmasters, and then end of turn Brainstorm, trying to look to for an answer to some of this nonsense. Ooh, my opponent did not bite. I'm going to take the hit here rather than play Snapcaster Mage. Let's see if they'll attack with it next turn after they see the coast is clear. Ah, damn it. Yeah. I absolutely do not feel like I can keep up with this deck. I don't have anything good to even Mystic Sanctuary back. My opponent is 4 clues ahead of me. My cantrips are bad. I'm not going to concede yet, but I'm very close to it. Sure. Yeah, so conceptually, we both have Tamiyos, that's the same, but then my opponent's Psychic Frog comes down a turn earlier than my Flames of Anor, and their source of card advantage is not situational at all, whereas mine is. Sure. I think at the point where this is flipped, if my next turn is bad, I think I just concede. Yeah, so I can draw 2 with this. My opponent will benefit from that action. Or... yeah, this is so bad when you can only do one mode. I'm going to do this while they're tapped out. So let's attempt to kill the Bowmasters immediately. Gonna fetch. Oh, I took Mystic Sanctuary out of the deck for the last Wasteland. Never mind, now I can't bring that back. In that case, I think that's all she wrote, and I should have drawn 2 instead. If I draw 2, the draw 2 is not good. Yeah. No way I'm beating that. So this is turn 2, bounce a creature. Turn 3, attempt to play an I win button of Magus of the Moon. But I have no ability to kind of manipulate or move from that hand other than play a 2/1 flash attacker. I don't love it. I don't know that it's worth mulliganing. The thing about this one is damn near any card draw other than a land improves this hand. And I think on that metric, I am willing to keep it. Unless I sense danger, I am not going to surveil land. That is fine in this instance. So we are hoping that holding up Brazen Borrower rather than playing Tamiyo. I think I am. I think if my opponent makes a big play this turn, I want to be able to bounce that card out of play. I can play Tamiyo fucking whenever. If Magus of the Moon just makes my opponent's deck fold. Oh no. That's awkward. So that's resolving. So I think I'm bouncing this out of play to buy time, but bouncing the creature with a very relevant ETB trigger is not necessarily a feel-good thing. We're going to hope that we can just find an answer to that a little bit later on. So get out of my way. Is this better? I think that's better. It lets my opponent tutor a Grindstone into play, but then leaves them with no land so that if they miss a land drop, their stuff gets stranded. That might be greedy on my part. So I guess what is the green for? Could be for sideboard options, such as pick your poison. They would have had another land. For Goblin Engineer. I never take them off of Chainsaw. Well, fuck. That's some tech that I'm not ready for. And just keep welding this in and out of play to kill all my creatures. Thanks, I hate it, I guess. So when does my opponent activate the Chainsaw? I guess that's a very real question. I'm going to go ahead and play out a Tamiyo here, hope that they activate the Chainsaw on their turn so that I can put Brazen Borrower into play. And keep up some semblance of aggression. Yep, so we get chainsawed. Taking out the Tamiyo instead. You get your rev counter. Okay. And that's it there. You ever played Snapcaster Mage as a 2-power attacker? And then it's good enough to be countered? I have. Deck, please. When it says no ambush vipers allowed. Very hateful. Very, very hateful. Alright. This is where the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker stuff can start coming down. I think we just exchange resources here. I mean, they've got to have something if in their hand if it wasn't lands, right? This is probably not great for me. Ichor Wellspring. Sure. I have not drawn a single instant or sorcery that's 1 mana after being 14 cards deep in my deck. That sucks. I'm sending this in. I didn't think so. I'm going to pass turn here. Magus of the Moon is in a really weird spot where I'm not entirely sure whether or not it's actually bad for my opponent anymore now that they have 3 lands. If they get rid of my Magus, then I can Wasteland Ancient Tomb. My opponent has so much ability to weld stuff in and out. Fuck. Broadside, Wellspring. Yeah. I hate this. Okay. I'm at 15. If my opponent wants to throw this. Alright. They're throwing it at Magus of the Moon. The Wasteland will be on. Yeah, my entire deck of little idiots does not feel good right now. I am playing this as a distraction that pads my life total a little bit. Okay. Please hit a 1-drop. Okay. So I can put that into graveyard. Sure. Attack for 3. This is rough. Current plan involves bouncing broadside at the beginning of combat. And we'll go from there. Opponent's build is neat. I don't know whether or not it's good, but it is neat and it is tearing me apart in this moment. Damn it. Yeah. I have no sweepers in this deck, no Supreme Verdict, Terminus, Wrath of the Skies, anything like that. So I have to 1-for-1 versus these things forever. I have no wizard in play for a Flame of Anor. Bounce that out of play so I don't just immediately get destroyed. And it's not like I'm going to aggro my opponent out through their broadside. Oh, there's more. Oh god. Sure. I have to pass the turn. And then when Agatha's Soul Cauldron activates, oh, damn it, they fucking played around it. Stop being good. I need you to be bad. Yeah. I am going to concede this game. Like, my opponent just counters this, and then I die. I think I have to play towards them missing it. Yeah. Alright. Well, that was brutal. I do not feel like I am prepared for this matchup. Outside of Magus, all of my threats are blue. My Force of Wills are bad against their Pyroblasts. My sideboard options aren't great. I don't really want to Surgical. I might need to. I can consider playing some number of Consigned to Memories. It's just a bit of an awkward card. Am I into Daze? Not really, but I think I like it better than Force of Will. Do I like Consigned to Memory better than Daze? I might like Consigned to Memory better than Daze. Dazes just feel very awkward because I need to be working towards 3 mana and then 5 mana for Snapcaster Flame of Anor. I try to cheese a win with Pyroblast as well. Well, that's awkward. I suppose I keep it. Attempt to get rid of Brazen Borrower here. I think I'm just going to hold up Consigned to Memory for turn 1. Kind of aggressively use it here. If I end up playing a Magus of the Moon around turn 3, didn't get the chance. Well, there's a land drop technically. Let's see if this gets countered. It does not. I will put Fury as my top card. Probably fetching it away to cast a Consign to Memory. We'll see, though. Need to get a basic island if I intend on playing Magus of the Moon next turn. Playing no to Vexing Bauble. Okay. I like that for me. I like this for me. Take that out. Hey, that's not bad. So we get our Land Destruction spell here. And then I do have a wizard in play for Flame of Anor, which unfortunately will just get countered by a Pyroblast. And I'm not in a situation to double spell with Snapcaster Mage. Tamiyo is a very inefficient use of my mana. Yes. So we're hoping for no Spirit Guide Blast here. Everything is red. Ooh, that's good. Cast. I have a wizard. We get 2 modes. Destroy target artifact. Draw 2 cards. Draw. Destroy. Bam, bam, and bam. Alright, Flame of Anor does a thing. I don't get to make a land drop this turn, but Lorien Revealed will get me my second island so that I can play a Murktide Regent. And hopefully I can carry that Murktide Regent to a win. Land drop. No. I will just daze that on principle. So, I think I always want to Lorien Revealed in this turn cycle. I think means that I do Tamiyo. I could just hold up Brazen Borrower as well. That's also acceptable. Playing out Tamiyo doesn't mean that I take, I lose 2 creatures to Fury at the same time. Yeah. Are you taking out Tamiyo? Yes. Chainsaw is cool. Unsure if good. It looks good, but it's definitely cool. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, it's at 13. Are we good with this, or do I just hold up these? Yeah, I'm good with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll leave the other Flame of Anor in the graveyard in respect of Snapcaster Mage. Sure, that's fine. Flame of Anor right now might be more valuable than Murktide Regent anyway. Fury. It is Fury. That takes out my Magus. Rev counter goes on Chainsaw. If I draw a land, I can Snapcaster Flame of Anor. I think it is just more important to have a wizard in play and cast this as my draw 2 that also destroys Fury. This looks really awkward if my next card is a land, and really smart if my next card is not a land. Well, it looks really awkward, but I accept that. 5 damage, draw 2. Yeah. Yeah. Bam. 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 Rev counter continues to do rev counter things. I think I'm making a normal land drop, not showing the secondary wasteland, and just giving my opponent a love tap. If my opponent has another Fury, this ends up being quite spooky. Right, like Chainsaw with double strike. Definitely scary. Okay, cool. This all looks fine. Oh, just going for the equip. Sure. Actually, I think I'm just going to blow that up and draw 2. I don't think I Brazen Borrower that. 5 damage. Draw 2 cards. Yeah. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Rev counters. Doing rev counter things. We will Wasteland Urza Saga. Play New Wasteland. Play a Tamiyo. Attack in for 2. And then I just want to play this Brazen Borrower and bash my opponent in the head with it. Looting through 2 lands there. Alright, well that was a dominating performance on my end. Yeah, Chainsaw looks like the real deal. Do I want another Surgical over 8 days? Do I want something like a Price of Progress? If I am doing an okay job at dealing roughly 10 points of damage to my opponent, a Price of Progress that just says, hey, I am going to eliminate your life total is not crazy. My deck is doing its thing. I am operating on 5 mana for Snapcaster Flames of Anor. Daze slows that down. Daze helps me get to my late game also. I think I am just going to hit submit. This is probably fine. My opponent gets under me on turn 1. Things can be a little awkward, yeah. So now I get my choice of whether to wasteland my opponent or hold up Consign to Memory. I think given that that is an Ancient Tomb and that is pushing my opponent 2 mana ahead, I take this exchange. It is going to make these consigned memories really awkward. All right, do we get a little time? No. F. I mean, I can lightning bolt it, but if I lightning bolt it, I am not holding up consigned to memory to counter the next thing that comes down. Yeah, that's not good. So my opponent can now exile the top card of their library to put X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is the exiled card's mana value. So it just has that ability, which means that Lightning Bolt does not kill that creature anymore. And that they can just attack me with this and I die. So, cool. So I guess let's just show this off. So we are going to attempt to Lightning Bolt this creature. And in response, my opponent just is going to exile a couple cards from their library until this lives through Lightning Bolt. And guess what? It lives through Lightning Bolt. And they can just continue this to create a 20 power creature, attack me in, and kill me. And I die on turn 2. Technically their turn 3. And this is why I don't love Lightning Bolt. It just simply does not remove everything that you need to be removing. And this is a bad example, but like it did not remove Psychic Frog, does not remove Metamorphosis Fanatic, does not remove Archon of Cruelty. There's a very large difference between like red and white removal or red and black removal in the format right now. Alrighty. Hand is reasonable. I think I have enough information to go ahead and ponder here. This is 4 looks at something like a removal spell, which is one of the things that I would want to be pondering for. I think I am good taking 2 of these cards. And my dryer is currently singing me the song of its people. My girlfriend does not let me disable the dryer songs. She likes the dryer songs. I loathe the dryer songs. Well, Psychic Frog, maybe like 4-color Loam or Bug Loam. Sure. Am I fetching? I don't really want to get wastelanded right now. I think no. I don't want this to get me red. So when Psychic Frog comes in, I think I am just going to take a tempo play here and bounce this out of play. I, in theory, just want to drag this game on. Ooh, right. Hate that. Absolutely hate that. So, I think I am into Brainstorm, look for removal. How is Tamiyo? I can Tamiyo and Ponder, which is probably fine. I would love to destroy target artifact at some point. I don't know, maybe I just Thunderclap Trainer this turn. Yeah. Fetch. So the real question here is, do I do Island or Volk? I think it's Volk. And then we're just going to go 4 deep with this card. Well, I will select Unholy Heat. So the primary thing that this is doing is just being a wizard that is not very good. As weird as that sounds, I just want to put a wizard into play that my opponent is unlikely to kill, so that I can maybe attempt to nuke a Psychic Frog. Oh gosh. Alright. Alrighty then. Come on. Let's talk about this. What is the order? So this doesn't work the way that I want it to, does it? Does not work the way that I want it to. I do not currently have Delirium. Attempt to put a creature in my graveyard to get Delirium. Let's do that. End it. Ha ha ha. Nice. I am about to get crop rotation Bojuka bogged for like the most savage blood in the world. I accept. So you get to draw your card. Alright, cool. Now, let's start figuring out how we're going to beat Uro and Psychic Frog. The answer is by making my opponent incapable of casting spells. So yeah. Don't shuffle. Yeah. Can't play the Tamiyo this turn, unfortunately. So bam, bam, bam. No. Wasteland. Pass. So I need to destroy Mox Diamond and play Fuck. Magus of the Moon. I guess hedging against this, I could have put Murktide Regent into hand. Yeah. Alright. Let's find a red source. I get 4 looks. Maybe. Bowmaster? Yeah. Thanks, I hate it. None of those are red or removal. Shuffle. Yikes. Alright, so next I need my opponent to attack Bowmaster into Snapcaster Mage. Now, if you haven't played against Life from the Loam Psychic Frog before, it fucking sucks. Thank you. Alright, can we get away with murder here? Snapcaster Mage targets something, it doesn't matter. I do not get away with murder. I'm taking 5 or so points of damage. Alright. I don't really think it makes sense to daze that. Wasteland is a goner eventually anyway. That is not good. Just full on not good. I'm pretty close to the point where I just concede. Like, I am going to get buried by this Uro, and it is very, very hard for me to permanently remove that Uro. This doesn't exile or anything. Sure. And if I stick Magus of the Moon, my opponent just goes all in on Psychic Frog, and I can't remove that with Flame of Anor either. Life's bad. Oh, and there's more. I guess I Force of Will that rather than Daze that, because I think I need to play a 3-drop next turn, which requires me ripping a red land specifically, which I did not. That's fine. Well, this is how I win. I just resolve 1 card and my opponent dies. That is how I win. And I probably play a couple of these sorts of cards. These ones are efficient but slightly sketchy. Like, they're situational. I don't know that I'm into Daze. I don't have Force of Negation to just exile Life from the Loam forever. I am worried that if I do this, I don't have enough generic answers, because a bunch of these things are situational. I don't really want to play that many surgicals, if any. I might need 1 or 2 to respect Uro. I could do something like this, keep a copy of Force of Will. I don't know that I have enough early game removal in this deck. I don't know that 5 is enough. I know Flame of Anor is supposed to be the mid-game, nuke all of the creatures, and Snapcaster Mage helps out, but Snapcaster Mage isn't a removal spell until there's already a removal spell in graveyard. Let's try this. This is fine. Do we care about the price of progress, Magus of the Moon type cards quite a bit? What about Tamiyo? I think I bury Force of Will, and I do take 2 of these cards. The intention of fetching Basic Mountain in the next turn cycle. Oh, yeah. And yeah. And there's a good chance that this just eats a Swords to Plowshares or something immediately. Could be a Surveil Land instead. Could be Fatal Push. It is Swords. Second land drop. Lavinia. Yeah, that's fine. I will just Lightning Bolt that. That's a spicy one. So let's just get that out of play. We now have Snapcaster Bolt available. There's my end game. We're passing turn. I could also Snapcaster Ponder with 2-ish removal spells in hand. I'm gonna get Wastelanded in my upkeep, but that's fine. Oh, this is better than I thought. Yeah, that's fine. I will respond with Snapcaster Mage, target Lightning Bolt that. Hand not looking great right now. Like, I don't have 3rd mana for Flame of Anor. If I top deck 1, I can't multi-spell, which really matters. Sure. That's annoying. Alright, opponent opting for the insect here. They don't get to Lightning Bolt and kill that. Don't get to attack in and kill that. So unfortunately, I'm just chilling. And just chilling is not great when your opponent is ticking up a Planeswalker that gives them value. Yep. Oh, that's gross. That's not Pyroblastable. Resolves. That is a 5/5. That is outside of range of Lightning Bolt killing it. I mean, yeah, I'm taking that. 17. I can't really fetch a Surveil Land here reasonably. So I can't kill Knight of the Reliquary with Wasteland. Sorry, with this Wasteland in play. If I double bolt this, my opponent can just Wasteland one of their own lands, and then Knight lives. So instead, we're probably just going face. Just bolt you, price of progress you, hope for the best. That does not feel good. But I think that is how I have a reasonable chance at winning this game. We try to use Snapcaster Mage to fog Knight of the Reliquary attacks, which currently has 6 power. I think there's a very real argument to just minus the Grist, kill Snapcaster, so that this can start coming in. But I don't know if my opponent has like a Dark Depths package or something in there, or Talon Gates or something that makes it very good to leave Knight active. Yeah, I'll just take that hit. That's fine. Snapcaster Mage has other jobs currently. Oh, what is 2? I don't think anything I have to respond to. Hey, this is always getting me red. Oh, fuck, I am wrong. Don't have a second basic mountain. Okay. Getting me blue. Bolt face. When was that 15? Alright, I am punished for not firing off Price of Progress first. I wanted to hide that for as long as possible. Let's see if I die on my opponent's turn. Alright, so they junk Dryad Arbor. Ojukabog is totally fine. Is this my moment where I just cast this? Where Knight can't rotate a land away? I think this is my moment where I just cast this. Let's dome my opponent for a bunch. See if they wasteland themselves. They do. This only deals 6 damage, which is hopefully still fine. Price of Progress plus a Lightning Bolt is keeping me live. It is insane to me that they played this land after seeing me cast a Price of Progress. Like, they are so far ahead, the only way that they probably die is to another price. And I bolted their face, which tells them that direct damage is my plan. So Grist, -2, Insect, kills Snapcaster. They can attack me for 12. Any other creature from hand that they can sacrifice is just lethal. Lock? Yeah, I am live for a win here. Because my opponent did not reduce my life total to 1, so now fetch land for red source off the top is good. Yeah, that's not lethal? Yeah, that is not lethal. That's fine. Alright. Red land of any nature, please. That'll do. So, Island Cycle. Volcanic Island. Play Price of Progress prior to playing that. Deal 8 to my opponent. And their final card needs to be Swords to Plowshares their own creature to gain enough life to not die to this lightning bolt, which it is not. Yeah, so if my opponent plays their turn in a way that makes Knight of the Reliquary connect, then I am at a lower life total, and I am playing to fewer outs there. Well, I was correct in identifying the fact that Price of Progress and Magus of the Moon are my ways to win. The Leovols and Uros of the world didn't show up, making the 2 Pyroblasts in my hand pretty awkward. I could make them into Force of Wills. I think on the draw, I am going to make them into Force of Wills. I'm not like the most excited about it or anything, but a couple of generic catch-alls seems fine. Oh boy. So, here's one of my critical matchup cards. Here's a source of card advantage. Here's 2 removal spells. I think I'm going to keep it and pray that the land comes off the top of the deck. But it is very possible for this to line up wrong. My opponent has some tough sequencing thing that they're thinking about over there. I'm not sure if it's like a Mox Diamond, what land do I put under this situation, or what. Green Sun for Dryad Arbor? Sure. I really don't want to fetch a Volcanic Island on turn 1. Don't have to. Woo! That was lucky. We take those. Now, hopefully I can remove another creature here and then play Tamiyo on my next turn. Raucous. Fuck. Legendary. I will hold up Brazen Borrower instead, I guess. Alright. And we don't really get to surveil land in the Wasteland matchup, I don't think. Yeah, Tamiyo being vulnerable to Caracas means that my Flame of Anor is significantly worse. That's a basic. We're chilling. Surgical, not particularly strong here. But if my opponent plays an Uro, I will be very happy to have it. Alright, we're chilling. I can play Flame of Anor for draw 2 into Orcish Bowmasters. I can play Brazen Borrower into Orcish Bowmasters. I think I like that better. Like, I am just going to offer this up to my opponent's Swords to Plowshares or Bowmaster or whatever. If I get a Bowmaster onto the board and then I just get to remove it with a Lightning Bolt or something, I am relatively happy about that. Don't mind Murktide as a draw. Endurance. Well, that makes my Murktide a lot worse. Sure. Flame of Anor with one mode is terribly inefficient, but that Caracas is quietly doing a lot of work. The opponent's at 16. I'm pretty far away from casting Murktide Regent now. Tamiyo's bad. I have a couple of wastelands that I can find to get rid of Caracas. That's like a reasonable thing to do, but not an exciting thing. Combat. We may end up trading Brazen Borrower and Lightning Bolt for an Endurance here. Oh, Ottawara. Yeah, that's totally fine. Pass turn at that point. Price of Progress is worth half of my opponent's life total already. Frog resolves. Okay, that can save my opponent some life. Am I willing to trade Lightning Bolt for a random card in my opponent's hand? Given that I want to play Murktide Regent, I think the answer is yes. Or it would be both cards, actually. Yeah, this is quite good then. Yeah, alright, so opponent says no to that exchange. We will just replay this out as a critter. Lorien revealed. Sure. Opponent takes some damage. I think we're just going to Surgical Psychic Frog. I want to know what's going on over there. Like my opponent has Grist, sure. So my opponent's Underground Sea is important to them. Alright, anything super fancy here? Not really, but there's enough singletons here that I probably want a snip of this. I don't think I get to be lazy. Yeah. Let's Island Cycle. I'm actually gonna get Volcanic Island here. That way. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, I miscounted. No, I should have gotten Shifting Woodlands. Oops. Thought I could Price of Progress as well. I miscounted. Oh, that's fine. So I wanted my opponent to use Wasteland. If they use Wasteland on me, then they're not using it on themselves, which means that this Price of Progress is just better at killing them. I'm happy to see this fetch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 damage. Brazen Borrower alone is lethal. The Grist doesn't do anything. You may have your critter. And their last card is a Shifting Woodland, so they're dead. Price of Progress is a hell of a drug. Well, that, folks, is the power of a single, very, very pointed sideboard card. GG's. All right. Round 4. I've got a pretty generic opening hand here. I'm fine keeping this. An opposing Tamiyo. I have no way to remove that in sight. I think I'm just going to say no to that. Cool. My Magus of the Moon and Wasteland aren't lining up well versus my opponent's basic land start. So my whole goal here is to use Tamiyo as a source of card advantage that lets me do something meaningful this game. And I don't want to be behind my opponent's Tamiyo from the get-go. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I am probably just using my mana to get a clue here. Or to crack a clue. This is sometimes a spell. I think I'm just going to play Wasteland and pass. Put some pressure on a Surveil land from my opponent at end of turn. Oh, they are going for it anyway. I think I don't bite on that. That feels like bait. Fuck. Well, I'm wrong. Well, that worked out for my opponent. Yeah, my whole plan was just slam Magus of the Moon and turn that into a non-mana producing land. And I do still think that's my plan. Then I can just like Flame of Anor afterwards, take out the Fanatic, and end up in a perfectly fine position. Daze, Fatal Push, Force of Will, all reasonable interaction versus this. Does not fetch basic Swamp. Yep. Alright, this is not great for me. That is not great for me. So now I can't use my removal spell to take out the Fanatic. And my removal spell sends Fanatic to Graveyard, which is not great. Because then, like, the next Fanatic or Reanimation spell just brings it back later. I want to play this and go ahead and Murktide. Ooh, actually, maybe I won't. I thought there was a Lightning Bolt that's a Magus in Yard. Yeah, I don't like my sequencing for this turn. That's the first time we've drawn this card this league. That doesn't do anything here. And I believe that I am fully dead to any sort of Entomb Reanimate nonsense that happens. Sure. That's fine. Opponent likes their card. They can draw that with a clue. I'll take 4. Definitely falling behind here. So let's do our thing. Get our clue. I can nuke this, draw 2, hope Bowmaster doesn't happen, flip this, play new Tamiyo. But it is, like I said before, incredibly awkward to send this thing to graveyard. Force of Will, pitching the Oculus. That's fine. Crack a clue. The Oculus each end step. When does this thing trigger? At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. Sure. 6 cards from graveyard is a lot by Legacy standards. Like, Murktide Regent is 5, and that has flexibility of mana. Now this transforms, and I don't have any creatures to pressure this. You don't count. Sure. Oh wow, they took Snapcaster Mage. I felt like Murktide was my best card there. I am going to go ahead and continue to accumulate my clues. Don't think I am in for chump blocking with Tamiyo yet. I don't think I can risk a ponder or risk cracking a clue prior to casting this. I can crack a clue afterwards. Fuck. Sure. So yeah, that's not doing it. I'm gonna go to 2 here from this attack. Feels like an Oculus or a Murktide. Yeah, it is an Oculus. So I have to answer both of these creatures in the next turn cycle, which my deck is not very good at doing. There's also going to be another 2/2 on top of that. I guess Ponder is more efficient here. I can Brazen Borrower 1, block 1, die to the other thing. I guess I can... I think I can live another turn, but I don't think I beat this on top of both of these creatures. My opponent took a wild gamble setting up Metamorphosis Fanatic, fetching with that Surveil land. I still think I am supposed to read that as this is bait, and it just did not work out well for me. Alright, I like the red elemental blasts here, and I like surgical extractions. I think that comes at the cost of most of these. This seems fine. I am, like, not a huge fan of my Unholy Heats and Lightning Bolts. Like, they feel sort of embarrassing against my opponent's 4/4 and 5/5 creatures, and they won't necessarily answer Psychic Frogs either. So I think Lightning Bolts are often going to go at face in this matchup. I feel very confident in saying that this deck is not for me. Keep, I guess? I feel very awkward about one-landers in this deck. Like, both of the colors are so important, and I really can't afford to fetch Volcanic Island in a matchup where my opponent can have Wastelands. That just does not feel safe. And then, like, this happens. Never didn't have it. We'll get the basic mountain. We may have to deal with a Psychic Frog in a minute. Hopefully we just luck sack into another land. Tamiyo's legendary status also means that I can't always just play multiple cards. I'm so glad a frog didn't come down immediately. Send it. I am going to try to hit my land drop here. It's awkward if my opponent has sideboard Bowmasters. Yep. I knew what I was doing. I do hit the land drop, and it is an ETB tapped land, so I'm incredibly happy that I made that decision. Because now my 3 drops are live for next turn. Do I want to hedge against Wasteland by just junking this? No, I think I'm going to keep it. That's fine. My opponent gets to fetch to clear. Okay, cool. No frog, no further threat. That's what I want to see. Fatal Push is fine. That actually makes my mana better for the next turn cycle, honestly. Because I can bolt this, then play Tamiyo to work for wizard stuff in the future. So junk you, play you, and pass. I think I'm holding Surgical here. I don't think I am going to Surgical Bowmasters, despite the fact that if my opponent has another Bowmaster, the next turn cycle is very awkward for me. Surgical on Pyroblast. Yep. So my opponent's going to follow that up with like a Murktide Regent or an Oculus or something. I could Surgical Extract the Ponders here to mess with graveyard counts, but it doesn't take them off of either of those cards. It shrinks a Murktide Regent and does nothing versus an Oculus. I just want to kill that with this. You get to Manifest Dread. Okay, there are trolls. This is a very important turn. I think this turn is important enough that I surgically extract Troll to see if my opponent has a Daze. Let's reanimate. Sure. We'll take out all the Trolls. There's a Court of Cunning here that I should be aware of. 2 Metamorphosis Fanatic. Not very much removal. Not very much removal at all. 1 Shoulder's Edict, 1 Fatal Push. Alright, that's good information. I don't think I need a screenshot of this one, though. You don't have Ward or something hidden on there? Oh, I guess if I kill that, my opponent just reanimates it. That's awkward. So by checking for Daze, I actually turned something else on that didn't need to be on. Wow. I might have just punted this game by making that decision. Let's just draw another Surgical. We'll get Genius. Draw 2. Nuke this. If nothing else, it still saves me 5 points of life on the next turn. This is fine. Plus this. And Ponder, looking for Surgical. Very aggressively here. Off a basic. Is Red Elemental Blast fine? I can also just Snapcaster Flame of Anor. Good enough. And my opponent could reanimate Bowmaster instead. I don't think they do, but they could. Sure. That's a lot of friends. Oh. That manifested card randomly was another Oculus. Fuck me, I guess. That's rough. Now my opponent manifests Dread multiple times. So I get to have a good turn. I don't know that it's enough, but I get to have a good turn. So, Junk you, Fetch, Volk, Snapcaster, Target Blast, Last you, Lightning Bolt you. And we hope to just have big draws from here. But my opponent's Metamorphosis Fanatics are now batshit insane. And these could also be real creatures instead of 2/2 manifested creatures. I'm also in an awkward position where I need to think about leaving Snapcaster alive for Flame of Anor versus just saving 2 points of life when I am this close to death. I think I'm into this block. Cool. Can't catch a break here. Alright, I get to play both of my things. What does this counter? Activated or triggered ability. Sure. So bam, bam, bam. This body just need to be bigger. I think this body just needs to be bigger. Alright, 8/8. Pass. My opponent could draw a Daze and counter this, but I think keeping this available so that if my opponent top decks Metamorphosis Fanatic, I can counter that trigger. I think that matters a lot. Alright, are you coming in? It's a theoretical lethal attack. You're not coming in. I am playing this as a body here. That's not great. I think I'm always doing this. Like, this could be another Bowmaster in theory, and it sucks if it is. That's not great. Don't have another Surveil land. I'm just going to hold that in hand and pass. I think my opponent is currently favored, but it's pretty close. Results. I don't think I can pay the 2 life to do something like Surgical this right there. Thanks, I hate it. Get rid of the Tidebinder. This is not a lethal attack. My opponent makes this attack, they die if I draw Lightning Bolt. We're going to block one of these. I take 3, go to 1. My opponent draws a card. They are dead to 8+3 for Lightning Bolt. God damn it. Yeah. Flames of Anor. I can get too deeper beyond that. I can't see. Alright, GG's. Alright. Unkeepable. Keepable. I think I throw back 1 flame. I'm not loving that both Snapcaster Mage and Flame of Anor are only good in the late game. And yes, turn 3 is late game in Legacy right now. That is the reality of the format. So a bunch of these opening hands can be very, very slow accordingly. Alright. Let's find one of our 2 copies of Magus of the Moon and a mountain off this ponder. Yeah, that's fine. I think I just need to accept the relevant interaction here. This can stop a super crazy, glaring Fleshraker start or something. Alright, opponent junking Cavern of Souls in a known blue matchup. We're going to say no to that. So now I know that I don't want the card that's 1 deeper than this. So we're going to go ahead and Scalding Tarn, fetch for basic mountain, And almost certainly Lightning Bolt whatever creature my opponent plays this turn for the sake of tempo. Oh, opponent jukes me by not playing a creature. That's fine. I mean, I would have loved to just kill a Glaring Fleshraker here, but I did not get to. Because I dazed, I don't get to do cool things. I think I'm just gonna say no. Basic land tension here. If my opponent doesn't play a creature this turn that dies to Lightning Bolt, I think I just bolt their face and just accept that, like, bolt, snap, bolt might be the direction this game is going. Wow. So my opponent kept 2 cards on top with Devourer of Destiny. So they had choices here. Am I fully on snap bolt, or do I want to ponder? My opponent junked Cavern. They may just have a Cavern. This may be uncounterable, or I can look for a Force of Will, or maybe Daze. I think I like Snap Bolt. Snap Bolt turns on Flame of Anor. Wow, no Kozilek's Command either? Yep, alright. So, rewarded for not pondering for a counter spell. Are you really not going to play anything? Fucking wild. Okay. Snapcaster target bolt. Bolt your face. 12. Ooh, that's interesting. Attempt to send in for 2 points of damage here. My opponent has made white mana for an Eldrazi creature spell, which this is not. They are junking my Snapcaster Mage and then doing scrying. I will accept that. And then I think I just pass holding up Tidebinder. I am fully not winning this late game. Just absolutely not happening. So I want to put something in play with power and toughness, and then that will also turn on 2 modes of this. So maybe I can do something like attack into a 6/6, kill it while drawing 2. Alright, more Ancient Tombs. Oh, you're on a Null Drifter build. Yeah, so I'm going to let that resolve and then counter this trigger to protect my Flame of Anor. And then some portion of the time my opponent casts Devourer of Destiny and nukes my Tidebinder. At which point, hopefully I just draw an untapped land so that I can play Tamiyo into Flame of Anor. My opponent is dealing a very large amount of damage to themselves here. So it is not hard for me to burn them out with another Snapcaster Mage or something. So I think I'm in okay shape. Untapped land, though, would be hot. Snapcaster Mage. That's not bad. I'm going to take this as an inefficient 5-point of damage spell that hopefully draws me into an untapped blue land for either Tamiyo or Ponder. It does. So which one? Probably Ponder. Ponder sets up Snapcaster Mage to be better. I don't mind 5th land. Is that Snapcaster Flame of Anor? I think I'm just going to shuffle those because finding Murktide Regent is a big deal. Daze is a very weak card. That is worse than the other 3 cards that I was looking at. I do not want to return a land to my hand right now. Oh, that's really annoying. That makes Murktide considerably worse as a draw. I'm at 13. Yes. Your Lotus Petal resolves. Your Chalice of the Void resolves. This is a little bit of an awkward spot for me. I'm totally fine if I keep a land on top the previous turn because I just Snapcaster Flame of Anor this while drawing 2 cards. That's fine. I don't play Snapcaster Mage as Ambush Viper because of this. I'll just take a hit for 6. That's fine. I'm going to play this and pass. Hope that I don't get wastelanded immediately. Nice, I did not. That makes this much, much, much better for me. So my opponent attacks. I now play Snapcaster Mage. I target Flame of Anor. I'll move 2 blocks. I will block this. I will flash this back. We're going to destroy target artifact, 5 damage to target creature. Destroy Chalice, 5 damage here. Or actually, I guess I wait till combat damage happens. No, I don't. Because I need the wizard. Destroy target artifact, 5 damage. Bam, bam, bam. Take out the Devourer of Destiny, unlocking Tamiyo and Brainstorm. New Devourer of Destiny, that's fine. Are we flipping this immediately? How much loyalty do you have on the back? It'll be 4. I think that's a fine distraction. So we'll Brainstorm. Oh, fuck yeah, Murktide Regent. Put back Daze. I'll Wasteland next turn. Put back Daze and Wasteland. Flip that. Plus this. Play this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Giant Murktide Regent and Tamiyo as a bonus blocker in case shit gets weird. And then on my turn, I Wasteland Maze of Ith and swing in for presumably lethal. I don't think I played this one perfectly, but I think my opponent punted it pretty badly by not Wastelanding on my turn, so that I got to get rid of that first copy of Devourer of Destiny instead of drawing 2. Nice. So, Wasteland. Target Maze of Ith. Dead. Also, thinking back to the very first trigger, my opponent binned 3 lands and kept 2 other cards, and then did not make any offensive play until it was like turn 5 or 6, I think, when they cast their first Devourer of Destiny. Or no, they cast Thought-Knots here and then Devourer of Destiny. So, like, what was the plan between the keep and the Devourer of Destiny trigger? Unsure. Alright, 4X, consign to memory. Get in here. Price of Progress, my easy way to cheese a win. Damping Sphere, probably playable. Fury, probably playable. This is 8 cards. Without really thinking about it, that might mean that my 8 counter spells go out. I conceptually don't hate Force of Will. Like, sometimes just buying a little time is reasonable. Unholy Heat is weird. It is sometimes exactly what I want and sometimes terrible. I maybe need the Force of Wills on the draw. Don't chalice me, bro. Don't do it. This is an incredibly potent hand, assuming that Chalice does not happen. If Chalice happens, I Brazen Borrower it out of play. Did you just not realize it's your turn? Are you a second main phase hipster? Blast Zone. I think we can Wasteland a better land than that. I'm just going to hold up Consign to Memory here. 3 of these is a fucking beating. This is fine. So that I don't have to fetch a Wastelandable land here, I am just going to Consign to Memory that, despite the fact that I could answer it with Lightning Bolt. I think that just smooths out my next couple of turns more. And we are going to aggressively attack the lands that produce more than 1 mana. I wouldn't hate Wastelanding a Cavern of Souls either. Alice on 1? What if not, though? What if not? Love that. That means that I can ponder and then probably hold up and sign to memory as well. Yeah. I'm going to put the Scalding Tarn furthest down here. Hold up, consign. Continue to attempt to wasteland lands that produce more than 1 mana. Anyway, if you're wondering why so many sideboards start with 4 copies of this card, this is why. Oh, opponent's just passing. I am good with that decision. Wasteland, pass, upkeep, nuke Cavern of Souls. Yeah. This turn's Consigned to Memory back on. I have Brazen Borrower Bounce available. I have Consigned to Memory available. This feels like bullying. Eye of Ugin. With no play. Yeah, I will Wasteland the shit out of that. We'll do it in upkeep again. Yeah. Are we at the point where you're missing land drops now? Because if so, I can put a Brazen Borrower into play and start brutalizing your life total. Negative, we are not. That's probably worth holding up. Let's just hold up both of my 3 drops as well as Consigned to Memory. Why was my opponent's hand a keep? It is turn 7. I've taken no points of damage. A new Wasteland? Sure. I don't care if my opponent uses a Kozilek's Command or equivalent to kill a flashed-in Brazen Borrower. Like, I am perfectly fine with that. You may have your value. Negative. Send in for 3. The opponent now has a Kozilek's Command that they did not... Oh no, they're just charging Blast Zone. Sure. Activated or triggered ability. That'll save them a little bit of life off Ancient Tomb. Chalice on 1. Okay. I can presumably just Snapcaster Consign to Memory again at some point. I may lose Brazen Borrower here, which I would be fine with. Is Bolt going directly to face right now? I think I am okay with that. Bam. My opponent is going to activate it. Now is the time. Oh, cool. So that does not bode well for my opponent, shall we say. Send it. So let's counter target activated ability. Counter that. My opponent takes 3, goes to 7, and then Price of Progress kills them next turn. Seems good. I don't really feel like I won this game as much as my opponent lost this game. Aww, my Price of Progress. I'll just have to Snapcaster Mage it back. Like, it just feels like my opponent did nothing in their games. Like, this is, I think, not the typical experience versus Eldrazi. Snapcaster Lightning Bolt is currently live. Maze of Ith is currently tapped. Oh, Thought-Knot Seer sends my thingy to exile. Am I fine getting rid of Thought-Knot Seer for this creature? I don't think so. I think I'm just going to Ponder. Magus. Yeah, I don't hate that. Yeah. No shuffle. Combat. Send in for 3 in the air. Putting my opponent to 4. Tamiyo feels fine. Then next turn I shut off Maze of Ith. And I have my opponent dead in 2 turns beyond that with Brazen Borrower. It's also reasonable to just play Snapcaster Mage there, but I'm going to keep Snapcaster Mage in case something goes wrong. After all that fighting and struggling, we did not put up a positive record in this league. Okay, so I'm not a fan of Wizards right now in Legacy, and I think there's a couple of strikes against it. Number 1, red removal is not good in the format right now. Lightning Bolt does not kill Psychic Frogs, Metamorphosis Fanatics, Troll of Khazad-dûm, Thought-Knot Seer, Devourer of Destiny, and so on and so forth. I think it misses too many cards. Additionally, red removal puts things in graveyard when the most popular deck in the format is a Reanimator deck that can just bring them back out, sometimes to disastrous results. Number 2, Flame of Anor is incredibly inefficient as a removal spell in a format that is incredibly fast. The Eldrazi decks and blue-black Reanimator decks both can have incredibly strong lines on turn 2 or turn 3 very, very easily. And this is often not live on your turn 3 because you miss a land drop or you get wastelanded or whatever. And you are very frequently not going to have this card on. In the late game, this card can be insane, but it's not like you're using counterspells to protect your small bodies to keep the wizard in play. So I'm not the biggest fan. As far as changes that I made to the list, the 3rd Wasteland was probably pretty positive. Like, in the last round, we bullied Eldrazi in part because I think we did draw all 3 of those Wastelands naturally. I don't hate the split between these 2 cards. They were both okay over the course of the league, but as singletons, you know, you're not always going to get them to line up at the proper moment. I do think you need the density of wizards that comes from the 2 of these cards. Was Brazen Borrower better than the Jace the Mind Sculptor that was originally in the lists? Unsure. I didn't mind having it, but Bowmasters was a thing we ran into a decent amount today. And as collateral damage, pretty much all of our threats are blue, and our primary source of card advantage, and one of our primary pieces of removal is also blue. And we live in the format where everyone is doing this with their sideboards. Like 4-ish Blast, 4-ish Consigned to Memory, 4-ish pieces of Graveyard Hate is pretty common. So I think this deck takes too much collateral damage from the other stuff that's going on in the format to be anywhere near competitive right now. Again, I don't think I piloted this one perfectly. Like, I certainly made mistakes, some of which I figured out immediately after I did them, some of which were less obvious. So I'm gonna give a general thumbs down to the deck list, with the caveat that if we get some bans in December, it's December 15th, forget exactly when it is. Whenever we get those bans, if the format changes significantly, there might be something to like here. I didn't feel like I was a very good Daze deck either. Like, Flame of Anor wanting 3 and then 5 mana for Snapcaster Mage was a bit of a problem when I was bouncing my own lands. I think that's where I end up overall. Price of Progress, though. Price of Progress fucks. Price of Progress, I love you. With that being said, if you need your copies of Price of Progress, toamagic.com, promo code ThrabenU, let them know that I sent you. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. And I have been on a recording rampage. I'm going to go take a shower and clean up. All right. See ya.